Hello everyone, welcome. Today I'm stopping by once again to bring an important message to you. And I want to emphasize that your emotions are killing you. Now, I want to talk about emotion, and maybe a term I can use that would be helpful would be the term PTSD, because everyone kind of knows what that is. But what I want you to understand is that everybody suffers from PTSD. When you were a little child, for example, you saw injustice. There was an injustice. You were blamed for something you didn't do, or people were being mean to you, or impatient, didn't have time for you. Something like that is an injustice. Little children perceive. See, you were born with intuition from God. It's the light in which we see, in which we perceive. When you were a little child, even 2 years old or even younger, you could perceive injustice. You just saw it. But your mistake was, okay, first of all, you couldn't help becoming emotional when you were a little child. You couldn't help it. Because we're born as fallen creatures. And you kind of expected things to be just. Mommy and daddy, mommy to be a princess and daddy to be a prince. And when you saw anger or unfairness, you couldn't understand it, and eventually you became angry. Well, that was your first trauma. Now there are other traumas. There's shocks, for example. Little children, sometimes they see something that's shocking. They're not prepared to see it. They shouldn't have to see it. But they see it and they're not prepared, and they react emotionally. There we come back to emotion again. So, the human being was created to respond to God. And these are not just idle words that I'm saying, just trite phrases. It's very true. The human being was meant to respond to God. To respond to God with your soul, your body, your emotions, your everything, your belief system. Every aspect of your being, every cell of your body, every bit of your soul and your mind and your strength was meant to respond to your Creator. He is your Father. See, wouldn't it be nice to have a good Father who's always kind and gracious and brave and wise and thoughtful and long-suffering, and who has your best interests at heart? Wouldn't that be nice? Well, that's the way He is, but we've fallen away from Him. Some of us have never even known Him. You were born into fallen condition, but that's not so bad, because what that means is you didn't make the choice. See, Adam made the fatal choice. He made the choice, and then after that, you know the rest of the story. But you haven't had a choice. You were born into this system, this upside down, backward system, separated from God. Have you ever wondered why everything is such a big mess and why there are wars and terrible things happening everywhere? Because everyone separated from God. And why do people have conflict? And why do people, what's all this, what about negative thoughts and cruelty and viciousness and hatred and stealing and theft? They come from another dimension. Through time and space, they come from the other side of matter, and they affect us and they move people because people are disconnected from their own inner ground of good. So the point I was trying to make is that you didn't make the choice. You were born into a fallen system with a fallen parents, imperfect teachers, in imperfect world, and so that's the way that's what you were born to. And that's all you've ever known. So you still haven't made the choice. You can choose your Creator. Now, but in order for that to happen, he has to make himself known to you. And then, and it's not even a choice, it's an inclination. See, when you finally realize, see, even just realizing the truth, finally you see the truth. You see your own wrong, for example. That's a classic way of really seeing the truth. I mean, the light, to see what it is in the light of truth. When you were a little child, you perceived your soul, the eyes of your soul could see. For example, you could see an injustice when one child was being treated better than another. For example, you saw the injustice. But then what happened was that you reacted to it with emotion. You were upset. Now, getting back to what I said, we were meant for all aspects of our being to respond to our Creator. Now, if Adam had never failed, if he had never doubted God and made the wrong choice and reached for the forbidden fruit and so on and so forth, then he would have been free to live forever in this paradise. Earth would have been a paradise for him. And what would he have discovered? Science, math, nature, all kinds of wonderful things. And everything that he discovered would remind him of the Creator. You know, if you're in a museum and you're looking at artwork, and there's a beautiful painting by a painter, maybe it's an exhibition of a certain painter, and then there's another of his or her paintings, just beautiful. Each one reminds you of the painter. So everything you see would remind you of your Creator, and you would be in perpetual awe and wonder of his greatness, his goodness, his handiwork, his genius. Everything would remind you of him. It would be wonderful. But human race fell away. But you know, it's not so bad, like I said earlier. Why? Because now you can discover his, and having fallen yourself, see, having become angry, having reacted emotionally. Now, do you see that your emotions should be reserved for your Creator? Your emotions should not be for responding to other people or their actions. So, but you did. You couldn't help it. But when you did, then slowly but surely your body, your nerves, your hormones, your glands, your muscles, your brain, your everything became more and more subject to that to which you had responded and reacted. Now, when you were a little child, you became angry. That anger caused your life to revolve around the source of your anger. Can you see that? Or if you were traumatized by something that someone did to you or something that you saw, then your life began to revolve around it. Can you see that? Or something shocked you a little bit, and you kept going back to look at it again and again. And before long, your life began to revolve around it. You see that with drugs. People take drugs and their life revolves around drugs or around marijuana or around work or whatever it is that penetrates them and traumatizes them. Men, their life revolves around women. Most men are women-centered. They just think about women continuously, and their life revolves. You see, can you see that was the original shock in the Garden of Eden when Adam fell, when he did the wrong thing? What was there? What was the first thing he saw? Don't they say that when there's I think it's a baby goose, I think a gosling or whatever it's called. It may be a duck, I'm not sure, but one of those types of birds. When it hatches from the egg, then it will follow around whatever it first sees. So if it first sees its mother, the mother goose or the mother duck, then that's the way it's supposed to be. And then the little duck is imprinted by the image of the mother, and then his life revolves around mother, which is the way it's supposed to be. But if that little duckling hatches and sees a dog or a person or even a wind-up toy walking around, then it will follow that wind-up toy. See, it's imprinted. So Adam was imprinted with the image of his wife and her words and her food, you see, and her presence. And then later he needed her comfort because of what he had become, what she had made of him. It wasn't her fault, but you understand what I'm saying. So now do you see that your life begins to revolve around being angry? You see an injustice, then your life begins to revolve around injustice. Everywhere you go, you begin to see it. Look at them. Look what they're doing. Look how they're being unfair. And you judge them. So your life becomes one of being angry, of judging, of being shocked again and again by the injustice, and then using it to feel the anger, to feel the judgment. See? But then when you feel the anger and you feel the judgment, then what else do you feel? Well, you feel empty. You feel conflict with your Creator, who you've defected from. See? And so now to get rid of that conflict, unless you should come to repentance, unless God should make you aware of your own wrong, and then you incline toward the truth and quietly see that you're wrong and admit it. Then you incline toward what will make you feel good in the fallen condition that you've come to. So now you're in this fallen condition of judging, see? Watching for people to do something unfair or unjust or rude or mean. You watch for it and you see it, then you judge them. Maybe you get angry a little bit. Then what? Then you feel empty. Then how do you feel the emptiness? With food, with entertainment, with music, with marijuana, with alcohol. See? You feel the emptiness, which should have been filled by God. Now it's filled by something that comforts you in your fallen state. So you see how that works. But then, of course, you hate it too. You hate whatever comforts you because you see it's making you wronger. So the only way back is to come back to your Creator, and you come back by way of repentance. When you actually see your own wrong, and for once you don't judge other people, you don't judge them, you don't blame them, you don't hate them, you don't focus on them and what they did wrong, you just see your own wrong, and you just humbly see it, and you realize there's nothing you can do, you just see it. You can't change yourself, you can't make yourself better. And, you know, it's a bit painful, but now you're facing reality. And if you stay on that course, then who comforts you then? Your repentant self, your humbled self, your chastened self. Who comforts that? God does. But don't allow other people to comfort you. Don't look for comfort from the world. And don't reach for anything to comfort you. Don't reach for your iPhone to comfort you or for marijuana. Don't reach for anything. Just bear the little bit of pain of seeing your own wrong. And then comes peace. The peace from God. And it says in the Bible, God does not despise a contrite heart. So there's much to see. Much to see. But there's lots of time. That's another thing. There's lots of time. God gives you time.